All right. Yep. Somebody has to remind me of something. Anyway, I'm gonna read that again. Religion's primary focus is on man, with God being the judge of man's performance, which produces works from man trying to obtain a good report and thereby gain blessings. Is that pretty much not what you've been taught in religion all your life?
Yes.
And the opposite of that is truth. And truth's primary focus is on God, with man being the judge of God's performance, which produces faith from and in God, which reveals the blessings to man from God's performance. In other words, the blessings that we have already been given, that He has already been given to us, and we've already. The Bible tells us we've already been given every spiritual blessing in the heavenlies, and so we actually are judging God and saying, and that really goes back to what Kelly's little bird thing was there about, about putting your faith in God, and because God is trustworthy. And so, but this is what we all do. We actually judge God. We judge His trustworthiness. And we all say, well, yeah, well, God's omnipotent, God's all powerful, God's all loving, all that kind of thing. And yet we don't fully know and understand those words. And so the faith that we trust Him with is, or when we do trust Him, is our judgment of how trustworthy He is. So we judge God, okay? And if you don't think you do, then just check yourself when you're worried, when you're fretting, and so on. Where's God? Why do you not trust Him? Why are you worrying, or why are you fretting? And I've told you before, I've admitted, that I fail in this regard. And so when I fail to trust God, I'm judging that God is not trustworthy in this particular thing. All right, and that's just being honest. And I really think it helps us to learn to be open and honest in front of God and in front of ourselves. Our problem is, for the most part, we generally lie to ourselves, and we don't bother to examine ourselves. And Paul says to examine yourself to see whether you be of the faith, okay, and whether you're really trusting or not. So those are the two things. And then what I say about that, these two things, religion and truth, can never meet. The longer they remain, the further apart they travel. And that the truth and religion, just like our sin has been removed from as far as the east is from the west, truth and religion are as far as the east is from the west, apart. So that was the thing that just came to me the other morning, and just kind of focusing on that.
Sorry.
And I don't know why. What's that? Oh, there she goes, jumping in the ocean again. Okay. Any comments on that?
Rick, walking on water.
What, Kelly?
I thought it was interesting one time that Rick said, when you repent, you're actually changing your mind about religion.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Because, the worst, as far as I'm concerned, the worst sin there is religion. And religion comes, in my opinion, again, and again, this is one of the things I'm not dogmatic about, but I really believe it, that religion comes from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that the law that the angels gave to Moses came from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which Moses inherited, and I believe that they pulled out of Moses's mind and and put on stone.
It's a counterfeit.
Beg your pardon?
It's a counterfeit.
It's a counterfeit?
Religion.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, it is. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. It's a counterfeit of the real thing. And so just like counterfeit money is of no value and in comparison to real money and real value. All right, so these are things that, of course, we've gone over these things a lot, I know, but I'm just kind of putting some, I don't know, some more emphasis on it, because religion is so easy for us to fall back into. It's a part of the flesh. And as much as we would like for it to all be totally gone, it's not. It's still in our flesh, and it's always there. It's always going to be there. And that's why Paul says, do not be conformed to the world's way of thinking, which is religion. Okay, world's way of thinking is always religion. And the religionists, especially Christians, will tell you, oh no, the world's way is drinking and carousing and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, okay, yeah, well, that stuff can be sinful, but that's not the worst. The worst is religion, because religion is in opposition to God. It's a lie, and it's like Donna said, it's a counterfeit. And so, but that is part of our flesh. And it is always nagging at us to try to succumb, try to find a way to get God to be happy with us, try to find a way to get people to be happy with us. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But anyway, this is where why religion came from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and religion is the evil. Good, or human good, are the things that we do in life. And I mean, if we give somebody, give a beggar something to eat, or some money, or we do something for someone, those are human good acts. And there's nothing wrong with them, except when we decide, well, since I did that, that makes me righteous, and now God's going to be really, really happy with me because now I'm righteous. And so we've got some more questions about that here in a little bit. Okay, any questions about that so far? All right.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, if we do good acts, though, like we give poor people food, or, you know, we go help out at the food bank, isn't that kind of like, okay, we're doing good, then good will come back to us? Or is that
good
religion?
Yeah, and yeah, the Bible, huh? What'd you say, baby? Go ahead.
Is that being religious, thinking like that?
Yeah, well, it kind of depends on what your attitude is about it. All right, if you do things to try to get good back, obviously, then that has become evil in your mind, because now you're doing good trying to get a reward. Doing good has to be the real doing good. If it comes out of the love of your heart, then now you're walking in the spiritual truth, and you don't get credit for that either. Okay, but you will be blessed. When you do something good out of your heart, out of love, you know how you feel, right? You already have a reward. And so now I'm not saying we don't do things and give, I give things away once in a while, but I just do it because that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to gain any happiness from God or any blessing from God. I've already been blessed. I know that I'm blessed, and so I just give out of the abundance that He's given me.
It helps your immune system.
What's that?
It probably helps your immune system.
Okay, I don't know. All right.
Believe that. I believe all that. does help the immune system, because
Oh.
if it's positive and it comes out of a good place,
Oh,
it's good
yeah.
for your mental health,
Yeah.
it all the way around.
Absolutely. We know, I mean, you know, and probably more than anybody with folks you counsel, that people who have good attitudes, positive attitudes, and are giving are probably generally, you know, more healthy. At least they're happier. And I think psychologists and doctors have said, yeah, people who are happy are tend to be healthier.
And usually
And,
when you're coming from that place, you're not coming out of fear, which means you're coming out of being trusting, more
Yeah.
trust. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just goes back to what Kelly said. We're in that hand.
Of course, if I look back at my own life in the last few years and all the pain and suffering that I've had, I make a lie out of all that. I don't know whether I had a good attitude or not, you know. So, all right. So the finished truth, is truth. The not finished is religion. And so, is whether we are in religion or truth important? If you're walking in religion or truth, is that important?
Yeah, it's important.
Say yes, Kelly. I mean, Lucinda. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you this question. Does it change your eternal abode or status, whether you're in one or the other?
No. No.
No. Correct. No. Whether we walk in truth or whether we walk in religion does not change our eternal status. Does it change your status with God in this life?
No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Right? Because God never changes. You change, I change. We all, we walk one part of the time in flesh, part of the time in spirit. God never changes. He
thought
still loves
maybe-
us all. Beg your
No.
pardon?
I just thought maybe you'd have a better relationship from yourself.
Well, here you go. Okay, because what you're answering is my next question. Does it change your life in the now experientially, whether you're in one or the other?
Yes.
Okay, if you're walking in truth or you're walking in religion, does that change your life in the right now experientially? How you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so that's what we really want to walk in the truth. The finished work is all done. It's done for everybody. It's done for Kelly, the same it is to the rest of us. Okay. And even if he doesn't comb his hair, it's all right. Yeah. So, but in the now, whether we walk in truth or religion, and you all have experienced all this, I know, and I've shared with you the first 35 years of my life, I walked in religion, and I did not have the happiness or the joy or the peace or any of the things that I have now that I walk in truth most of the time. Now, when I walk in the flesh, I tend to get back into that old negative thinking and so on. And so I don't like walking there. And so I try not to walk there very much. All right. So, but whether you walk into truth or religion does change your life experientially. And so it's kind of, okay, well, how do you want to live? How do you want to feel? How do you want to be? Okay. Suit yourself, and I believe that's what God says. He says, come on, kids, fellowship with me, and you're going to be a lot happier. If you don't, okay, I'm going to still love you just the same. Will be no difference, but I'm going to love you just the same as if you were walking with me 24/7. All right. Any questions about any of that? What time we got here? Okay. All right. Here's something that some of you probably have never heard of. Besides Donna, have any of you ever heard of the Enneagram?
No.
Enneagram.
Yeah. Yes.
Enneagram, you have?
Yes.
Okay. And you want to share how you heard about it and what's your experience with it?
Well, I think I heard about it first from our son, whose church was using it to help people understand how to relate with other people. And I did a lot of reading or listening to audio books and stuff like that about it. And I feel like for me that it has helped clarify some things about my personality and about how I respond in situations that no other test that I've ever taken has done. So I
Okay.
really appreciate the Enneagram.
Okay.
Called Enneagram?
It's ENNEGRAM.
Yeah. It's ENNEAGRAM.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
ENNEA. Yeah. And ENNE is means 9, and gram means it comes from gramos, which is a written symbol. And again, if you have the ability to look at the notes, I'll have that on the poster on with the link.
So it's 9 domains or something? Is that what it is?
It's 9 domains you say?
Is that what it is?
Well, you know better than I do.
I
what it is.
don't know, because
Oh,
when
you-
you ask me, I
Oh,
use the Myers-Briggs, but I know there's a lot of
yeah.
similar.
Yeah, well,
They're very similar.
Donna shared with me when she looked at it. She said, "What did you tell me? It looks more. This looks like more from the emotional side than the Briggs looks from."
Yeah,
the,
it said it had the more. It had a emotion more. Emotion based. Where that said something about the Myers-Briggs was cognitive, but I think they're very similar.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, there's nine things, and I'll just read them right quickly. One is the protector, one is the epicure, one is the loyal skeptic, then the observer, the romantic, the performer, the giver, and the perfectionist. And number 9, it didn't have a title up there, so I don't know what that is. But anyway, and I like what you said, Mary, about, it kind of gave you an idea of who you are and why you respond probably the way you do. And so this is something that you all might want to go to, and there's links on here to go to. You can take a test and see where you fit in. I look at this thing and I can see myself in lots of different spots. I haven't taken the test yet to see, but there's what I really want to get to with it is that at least this is the way I see it. This defines for us what our old flesh and our old sin nature is like. Okay, this is a definition of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, and so you guys can all look at it, and then we can maybe talk about this more next week. But anyway, let me just read this paragraph. The Enneagram can be used as a powerful tool to help understand yourself and others through this challenging gamut we call life. Ennead 9 and Gramos are written symbol. Enneagram represents a construct of 9 distinct personality types of the soul that, once self-discovered, can accelerate your understanding about yourself and how you relate to others and how others relate to you. Each Enneagram type has a different trigger and priority of thinking, feeling, and reaction that stems from the core and affects relationships. What makes them tick? What is important to us? What makes you react like you do? And I think that what makes us react like we do is probably as important as anything, because we tend to be, as people, reactors and not responders. And being responders is really what we need to be. Reaction is like, you hit this and it goes this way. But if a reaction goes, I hit it and this wants to go back this way, and we want to be at odds with each other. But responding takes a slap and then does not react in kind, but responds. And of course, the response that we all need to respond in is what?
Love.
Love, you betcha. Okay. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit more here. Anyway, like I say, there all these things, and of course you don't need my notes. You can go on the internet and look up the Enneagram, and there's all kinds of stuff about it. There's the one thing this thing said here, and I want to, I don't know if I can find it.
I'm not sure what I still don't get what you mean about it being from the tree of good and evil. To me, I think it depends on what lens you're looking through. Because I think with love, if we know that we're loved, we can accept our unique personalities
Yeah.
Oh, you
for
mean
who
like,
we are.
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like our
Go ahead.
defects
Yeah.
of character?
What's that?
Yeah, you could look at them as character defects, but why not look at them as this is our uniquely who we are, and our vulnerabilities or strengths or whatever. Just like, and Mike, I think I mentioned this to you the other day, that the apostles, they were also uniquely different but
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And- yeah.
don't we just get a kick out of Peter?
Yeah. But Peter was, he responded following the, I can't think of it. When the Holy Spirit came, what day was that? The day of,
Passover.
what?
Cost.
The day of
Yeah, day of
Pentecost.
Pentecost. There you go. I lost that. The day of Pentecost. And Peter began to respond
Mhm.
differently than he had before. Okay.
Yes, but he was
And
still Peter.
Huh?
But he was still Peter.
He was still Peter. And of course, and this is where I want to get to, is about the flesh. And the flesh is always going to be the flesh. But it's our minds that we need to get squared away.
Right.
And and what's good to me about these tests and so on, and finding out who we really are in the flesh and maybe why we became that way,
Mhm.
then we can, be on the lookout for how we respond negatively and respond in love, because this is where I want to go. Even though we find out about these things and we try to work on them, and that's one thing, but
Be aware.
yeah, be
I
aware
love
of
what
them.
Mary said
but
about understanding. When you get understanding, it's powerful.
yeah, but how are we going to respond, and what if when we finally get it through our heads that we are loved by God
Mhm.
with his whole being, then how are we going to respond? Are we going to respond in kind? Or are we going to react according to these aspects of our flesh? Or are we going to walk in love? And the simplicity to me of all of this thing is walking in love. And it's the answer to every one of these problems. I like the way this thing here puts it. Number one is the reformer, the perfectionist, the need to be perfect, type, principle, purpose, perfection, basic fears, imbalance. But it says when redeemed, and I said, wait a minute, what's this redeemed? And it says, when redeemed, that is healthy growth, will take on healthy number 7 tendencies. But when unredeemed or stressed, it will take on unhealthy number 4 tendencies. All right. So this thing can really help us, to delineate and see what we are and what we look like in the flesh. And remember that the flesh has good, human good, and this thing delineates this human good. But it also shows the weaknesses. And of course, it doesn't really, to me, doesn't really get into the evil, which is religion, but that's neither here nor there. It's love, and I think I put it down here. All right. I said, if we were able to improve, or if you were able to improve your strengths in all 9 areas of this Enneagram, and eliminate the weaknesses, would you then be righteous?
Mm-mm.
No.
Junie says
It's
no.
not gonna
What?
make,
Yeah.
it's not gonna make you righteous. Jesus said that.
I know, but
Can
this,
I say
this,
something about it?
what'd you say, Ray?
Can I say something about it?
Yes, you may.
Okay, well, you know, I work a special program through the Narcotics Anonymous,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to do a 4-step, and on that 4-step, we write all of our resentments, the harm that has been done, and
Okay.
then we look at the harm that we have caused. And there's usually 4 things, and it's our pride, our ego, self-centeredness, obsession, and I think that's what I can remember. I'm sure there's a whole lot of other things that are you know, associated with the flesh. And then what we do is we admit those things
Mhm.
to another human being, our wrongs, and by doing that, it shows an amount of humility. And then we ask God, we humbly ask God, because we can't do those, we can't have those defects removed on our own. We just can't. They're part of who we are. And so we ask God, but I think like what you're saying is like being aware that yes, these are my defects. These are my shortcomings as a human being, and being aware of it, and then asking God, and then like also after I did that fourth and fifth step, I started seeing the patterns of my mind and my thinking. And so I was becoming more aware to have God change those patterns. And so then when certain situations arose, I knew, oh, you know, this is what my tendencies are, to do these things
Mhm.
and to do something differently. But it takes time. That's like that takes a lot of practice to do that.
Yeah, because if some of us, Junie and I are so old, I mean, if we should have started out a lot younger. I guess. But the thing about it is if you don't know really who you are in the flesh and what causes triggers, then you are always at the mercy of somebody else. You're at the mercy of someone else's control, who are in the control business. Now, not everybody is, but there are a lot of people who can control. And if you know somebody else's hot points, hot buttons, you can control them. Okay, if that's what you want to do. But it's not so much that you want to control. You don't want to be controlled. Okay. I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to control you. You don't want to be controlled by me. You don't want to be controlled by somebody else, probably. Now, maybe some people do. I don't know. I don't like being controlled, and so when you know these things, and then when you understand them, and then when you see these triggers, then you can, instead of reacting, because that's when a person is a reactor, he is able to be controlled by outside influences or outside people, and that's what Jesus freed us from. He said, I came to set you free. And back in his day, the people were controlled by the leaders. They were controlled by the religious ones, and they didn't know what to do about it. They just didn't know. So anyway, that's why I think it's important.
There's a level of freedom that happens when you start getting that kind of understanding of yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Jesus says, he said, we have been set free. This is one of the things I say in the finished work of the cross. We have been set free. We have been set free from all of these things. Our problem is we just don't know, what our problem is. We don't know that we have the flesh. We don't know, or we've not really looked into this, looked into the truth of who we are in the flesh. The other thing is, though, is that when you discover some of your negative points and I know Rachel's going to understand this, is one of the things you must do is forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? Forgiveness of yourself is as important as forgiving someone else. And non-forgiveness is of yourself or of other people is harmful to you. It can be harmful in relationships to other people, but mostly it's harmful to you. And when things are harmful to you, then your relationships are affected. And I know that's not what you want. And so you want to walk in peace and freedom and love. And so, I had a question here, I think somewhere. Yeah. So, my question was, if you were able to improve your strengths in all 9 areas and eliminate the weaknesses, would you then be righteous? Well, everybody said no, and that's correct. You're not going to be righteous. You can improve your relationships with people, but you cannot improve your flesh. Those weaknesses are always going to be there. It's just how you react to them when the hot buttons have been pushed. So, and I say, or here's the next question. Would knowing you are loved by God and walking in his love for you, your love for him, and your love for others accomplish the strengths of the 9 of the Enneagram? And
I
would it
think
eliminate
so.
the weaknesses? Huh? Wouldn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, knowing you are loved by God, and this is the message. God loves you with his whole body, with his whole strength, with his whole mind, and his whole being, and you can't be any more loved by God than you are right now, and you've always been loved that way, and you're loved that way even if you walk in the worst aspect of the flesh that you could ever walk in. So, but if you begin and you understand that you're loved and you accept that love and begin to walk in that love, and then you will be a responder, and you won't be able to be controlled by other people. You won't even want to control other people. You're just going to want to walk in love and walk in joy and all the fruit of the Spirit. And that's where we want to be. At least that's where I want to be. Okay. All right. Any questions? Any comments?
No, I was going to say one thing about those personality tests, though. I have had people ask, which does harken back to the tree of good and evil. They'll say, well, do I have a bad or a good personality type? And right there, they're looking at it through the human, through the eyes of judging.
Yeah.
And then I go back to what Mary said. I said, no, it's not what it's about. It's about you being able to understand yourself better and be able to communicate more effectively with the people you love,
Yeah. And if your personality type keeps on ticking people off, or you get constantly ticked off, then you might want to say, well, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Why do I cause
it's not
that?
the personality type, it's the way they react is what it is. If they're picking somebody off, it's not their personality type. It's the way they're reacting.
Okay, I don't know. I think I tick some people off because of my personality type sometimes, because I'm I'm hard on Kelly. I'm hard on Greg lots of times. I don't think I try not to tick them off. I don't want to do that. I just kind of like to pick on these guys in fun because
Well,
I
they're
love them.
sitting there. They're sitting
I-
there.
I know.
You don't tick them off too much.
Kelly's got a laugh on his face, but Greg, he's only kind of about a halfway. There he goes.
Kelly loves it.
All right. No, anyway, love all you folks, and Kelly and Lucinda, it's so great to have you with us, and come back any week that you can, and I'll try to get this stuff worked out on this, this Zoom. I'm screwing it up. All right, love you all. Take care, and see you next week. Hopefully, be safe.
Yeah.
What?
you.
What's this? Oh, you're waving.
Nice to
Okay.
meet you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Love
Bye,
y'all.
June.
Bye.
See
Love
ya.
you, Donna.
Love you
Love
too.
you too, Rachel. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Zoom room. Yeah.
And in the meeting, huh? There it goes. Oh, in meeting.